Hi guys. Good morning. Welcome to Wednesday, middle of the week. We're halfway through. Today's energy is one of those days. My throat chakra is like all sorts of twisted up this morning. Today's energy is one of those days where staying in your lane, not inserting yourself into situations without somebody asking you to insert yourself into that situation, reminding yourself of who you are and that other people's journeys are separate than yours. Today is that kind of day. The moon is now in Aries. It's joining Venus and Chiron. We also have, Venus is sort of in for a ride this week. I feel bad for her because she's going to be squaring with Pluto in a couple of days. We're already building up to that, squaring with Pluto and Jupiter and Saturn. Like, Venus is kind of getting beat up by all of the big players in Capricorn. It's like this united force in Capricorn is putting Venus in her place, like saying, no, this is what you have to do in order to survive. This is what you have to do in order to continue going on your journey. We talked a little bit about yesterday that if your relationship is already on shaky ground, this is the kind of energy that is like a make it or break it. If you, and it's been happening all week, like it's not even just starting today. It started a couple of days ago and we're leading up to the exact point on Friday and then through this weekend even too, right? Remind yourself also in all things to not judge yourself right now, because it's so easy to do that. The workshop that had to be rescheduled from last Saturday because I was sick is this Saturday, and it's about, we're going to be learning about how not to judge ourselves, and in learning how to not judge ourselves, we're also learning how to not judge other people. So it's going to be one of the one of my favorite workshops because it's actually sort of been rewritten through this Mercury retrograde. And as you guys know, I always learn. I always have like that crash course in learning right before I give a workshop. It's like, are you sure you're ready? Are you sure you're ready? Like, until I'm ready to actually give it, it doesn't happen. So that's why it had to also be rescheduled, because of the things that have happened during this retrograde season. But allowing yourself to see that we are all flawed. Nobody is perfect. And when you are triggered, allowing yourself to look at it in an aware, a conscious, and I wanted to say adult, but I don't even want it to be in an adult way, because in an adult way can be different. That can mean something different to you than it means to me, right? I want you to look at it in a conscious way. I want you to be aware of the circumstances that are happening. I want you to be aware of the lesson. I want you to be aware of why you're being triggered. And if that right there is eluding you, if all of that stuff, if you can't stop and breathe and assess and realize without beating yourself up, there is a wound in there where you're judging yourself probably unfairly. And maybe you're judging yourself because somebody else judged you unfairly. But their judgments, you have to be able to see that that is separate. Their judgments of you are separate from the way that you should feel about yourself. Because when it comes down to it, you know you best. Everybody else doesn't know you as much, as well as you will know yourself, ever. So, and I know I say this, I like over drank that, and so I got coffee all over my face. I know I say this all the time, but really, really be kind to yourselves right now. I've been saying it since the beginning of January. I think I even said it a whole lot, in December, but it's a really tough time to, not feel like everything is falling apart and nothing is going, like There's a lot of people that are dealing with a lot of stuff right now, and it feels like life sort of like falls apart, like it's the end of the world, right? So not judging yourself is going to make that process easier for you. And yeah, let's look at the cards. Let's look and see what the cards have to say. I don't know why my throat chakra decided to just like close up. Just ridiculous, like right before. So we have to change our perspective on things. We have to see things in a different sort of way. The Death card and the Page of Cups are the two cards that came out. The Death card is the death and rebirth, the transformation, the phoenix rising from the ashes, as above, so below, right? The Page of Cups is feeling like you need more, feeling like there's this want and need and desire when it comes to the Page of Cups. There's like a lack, a sense of lack. And if you're feeling like you're lacking in some way, in any way today, if you're feeling like you're less than or you're lacking in some way, this is a time to transform. This is like that crossroads moment in your life. Are you going to choose to see the lessons in front of you and to see how you've grown and evolved? Or are you going to allow yourself to dream about all the things that you could have while you just sit here staring out the window, waiting for it to just show up to you, right? A lot of times right before a major shift happens in our life, we sort of go through a moment of despair or a moment of chaos or a moment of sadness or a moment of loss and grief. And if you're in a position right now where you're feeling a lot of loss and grief, usually there's some good things on the other side of it if you allow yourself to see it in a different perspective. There are a lot of people that will just sit in that grief and that loss and that sadness and that longing and that want and that need, and not see the benefits that are coming out of all of that pain. And if you, there you go. I knew this was going to be that day. Whew. The Four of Swords and the Nine of Swords. You know, we talk about not doing the most, especially when you've done everything that you possibly can in a situation and there's nothing else left for you to do but wait. That's what the Four of Swords is. And there's a lot of healing involved in that moment of pause, in that waiting, in that silence, and that quiet time. The Four of Swords is about healing, right? But you have to allow it to happen. And sometimes that healing has to happen whether you like it or not. The healing and the resting. And then we have the Nine of Swords. And this is why the healing and the resting has to happen. Because your mind is going to play tricks on you. Your mind is going to tell you all of the reasons why this Page of Cups is true. Tell you all of the reasons. Your ego will tell you. And the reason why your ego tells you why you are lacking in so many ways, it's like a survival technique, right? The ego is just protecting us from being harmed in any other way. But it doesn't know any better, because what we really need is to love ourselves and to not beat ourselves up. we're doing more harm by beating ourselves up than if we were to just take a minute and say, and look at the reality of the situation. I do this all the time. You guys have no idea how my mind can take me down a rabbit hole. And the fact that I'm so resilient to be able to pull myself out of it is a testament some days. So I understand, I mean, the Nine of Swords, that's like a typical day in a Virgo brain is the Nine of Swords. The Eight of Swords or the Nine of Swords. I mean, imagine, just imagine, right? So if you have heavy Virgo energy at all, you know what I'm saying. Aquarius energy, Scorpio energy, Virgo energy, Sagittarius energy, Gemini energy. We can harm ourselves with just our thoughts. People don't have to say a word. So remembering to breathe and remembering that everything is changing and everything is shifting and nothing is going to be the same. It's all temporary. Whatever happens today doesn't even exist tomorrow because it's already happening now. So we deal with it now and we move on. I know, it seems so simple. Death and rebirth. Let's see what the death card is. Because I feel like this is sort of a breakthrough. I feel like the death card is a breakthrough moment. And, oh yeah. Normally I wouldn't pick 3 cards to clarify 1 card, but I sort of have to. Because it's telling the story of what that breakthrough moment is. Right? So we have the Hanged Man. We have the Two of Swords. And we have the Wheel of Fortune. And what's really interesting about this combination here, you guys, the Hanged Man puts himself there, herself there on purpose in order to see things from a different perspective, right? And there are some things that have to end, and sometimes we are on forced pause when these things end so that we can see things from a different perspective. That Two of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune makes me feel like some of us are so caught up in the lack mentality that with this Two of Swords, you're blindfolded to the fact that there's a change coming. And what did I say? What did I say? Usually right before a big shift, Wheel of Fortune, there are things that have to change. There are things that have to end. There's some kind of chaos. There's some kind of lesson that needs to be learned. I like to call it grooming just because it makes it sound like a little bit, I don't know, less intrusive. We're being groomed. We're being groomed for everything we've always wanted. So allowing yourself to not sit in the lack mentality, which is probably very karmic at this point. I mean, Saturn hasn't really been fun lately for anybody. It's slowly moving into Aquarius. Just a couple of weeks, shifting from Capricorn into Aquarius. But the Devil on the Page of Cups, you can actually get into you can actually start to become really obsessed with your thoughts, because the Devil sometimes can be obsession. And you can feel a lack mentality if you allow yourself to become obsessed with the thoughts. You know? So, on the Two of Wands, we have the Page of Swords and the Three of Swords. You have a decision to make. Like I said, you have a decision to make. Because now your decision is based on how you've been hurt. The words that were said, Page of Swords, Three of Swords. Some of it was probably true, but here's the thing, is no matter how true it is, the more you beat yourself up from that truth that was possibly said to you, because the Page of Swords is about the truth, telling the truth. Sometimes it can be harsh, right? I'm kind of a expert at the harsh realities and the harsh truths. Comes with the territory. But you have this opportunity now to see again, right? That Two of Wands. Are you going to take the blindfold off and you're going to allow yourself to see how this Three of Swords can be healed with the Four of Swords, going from the 3 to the 4, right? We had the 2 over here. Now we have the 3, and then we're going to go to the 4. So you have a choice to make. Some of us have a choice to make to leave a situation because you were hurt so badly. And if you know that if you continue to stay in that situation, you know it's not going to get any better. I think that there's probably a hope that it'll get better. 4 of Swords. But if it hasn't been benefiting you all this time, that's why the shift is occurring. That's why the shift is happening. You see? So, 4 of Swords, the Moon. Nine of Swords. I'm so glad that was the last card that came out. Bottom of the deck is the 10 of Pentacles. And this is why I love my job. Because we literally went through the harsh pain, the harsh realities of the situation, and the solution to closing out the cycle, the world on the 9 of Swords, the solution to gaining that stability, to seeing the long-term stability and the happiness, is to give yourself an opportunity to be honest with the Moon. The Moon on the 4 of Swords. Be honest, but be gentle with yourself. And letting yourself see in a very aware and conscious way how everything has lined up exactly the way that it's supposed to get you to this moment. And how changing yourself so that you don't have to repeat the same cycle. Not sitting in the 9 of Swords. We're done with that. We are done with the agony and the pain and the existence that is the agony and pain in our heads. We're not doing the agony and pain. Maybe you have to for a little bit. When you allow yourself to see how you're growing and evolving from the hurt, it's a lot easier to see how things are going to turn out just fine. Might not be without a struggle. We have the 10 of Pentacles, the 5 of Wands, and the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords was the card of the day. I love it when that happens. So the universe is giving you, the Ace of Swords is a gift from the universe of wonderful ideas, exciting opportunities. Watch your words, use them wisely. But things are going to be a little bit more heavy before they get better. So now is the time, don't beat yourself up. Now is not the time to beat yourself up. And if you're having a hard time doing that, join us for the workshop this weekend. It's going to be really fun. And it's going to help me along with you guys. So there you go. I love you. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.